I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people who inspire me. I'm going off a little course, but I think we've got a lot to learn from this guy, Chris Melcher, who is one of the top celebrity and big bucks of divorce lawyership. And I think you have some good advice that you can convey. Let's let you talk a bit about the people who shouldn't get divorced.
Well, Joe, I'm really happy to be here with you. And being a divorce lawyer and for over 30 years now, I'm seeing all the marriages that fail and all the relationships that people who once loved each other now hate each other. And trying to learn from that, like what lessons can we learn from that for our own relationships to kind of avoid that outcome?
Well, I think full disclosure, you were my former landlord, and you wrote the book on how to be a great landlord, I'll tell you. As far as your humanitarianism with your partner, allowing them into the house after they've lost everything, and helping their teenage girls who are at that age where they need their privacy, they need their sense of family. And we have just enjoyed your kindness, humanitarianism, and you're a big deal.
Well, and I appreciate the relationship that we formed through me just renting this home to you. And in my view, it's all about service. And that's what I'm doing in my work too. It's really service oriented. It's all about people. So whether I'm providing legal services or I'm providing housing, it's really this human element that makes a difference. And the connection that we formed is just so valuable. And I really appreciate you.
Well, how did you connect to the media? You are a special individual in that you can talk about the legality of a subject, but you can also present it in a clear, cogent manner, which is, I guess, your law background.
So, yeah, I'm a practicing lawyer, but I've always been interested in media commentary on legal stories. And that really started from watching the O.J. Simpson criminal trial when I was getting out of law school, and I saw these lawyers around the courthouse being interviewed and talking about what was going on in that case in that particular day. And I thought, wow, this is something I would like to do. So I pursued that and now done over 1,000 network TV interviews on news stories. And what I've learned from that is there's a huge interest that the public has in what's going on in our courtrooms, particularly in these celeb cases, because you're seeing inside the details of their lives. And so, but obviously for non-lawyers, or even for people who have some legal understanding, they can't sit there and read all the papers. They can't go to court and watch everything. So they want to know in a quick way what's going on with that case. And so I view my role as a media commentator as really an interpreter, taking all that complex legal stuff and putting it into a concise story that shows like what's really happening, what's driving that dispute, who's getting the advantage here or not. And doing that in sometimes 30 seconds or maybe 2 minutes has really helped me, one, and hopefully showing a better face of the legal profession, but also in my advocacy in court, because I'm able to distill complex and a lot of information, put it together very quickly in a soundbite. And in court, the judges need that information kind of in a similar way. So this has helped me personally, but also professionally to do so much media work.
Well, there was a song that Fred Astaire made popular with Ginger Rogers, and that was Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. You like potato, I like potato. Have you ever seen a divorce end in a positive manner, or do they all end up separating?
Well, sir, there are some people who reconcile through that process. Now, usually by the time they're talking to me, a divorce lawyer, they're very far gone because there would have been hopefully a lot of examination on to whether that relationship is salvageable before they start talking to lawyers. Certainly, we've seen some people call it off and reconcile. We've seen people go through a whole divorce and then years later marry each other again.
Wow.
But that's the exception. Most of these relationships, have just totally failed. And what's intriguing to me while I'm in court a lot, watching all of these couples who at one point loved each other, at least for one night, and had a kid. And so they had this relationship. They were passionate with each other for that point in time, but now can't even look at each other. And it's every one of those cases. And it's how did that happen? How did it fail? That's what's intriguing to me.
Interesting. Also, you have a talent that you probably don't know you have, and that is as an architect. You found this house. You put your own knowledge of what you would want, and you did it on one floor. And I just find that such a wonderful ability to be able to know that what was there wasn't necessary, but that the fact that each room had its own full bath, except for the powder room, and each room had its own little outdoor terrace, which took a lot of talent, I think. Do you enjoy that kind of thing? Or?
Well, I do. I think what, working as a lawyer, and particularly in the divorce field, is very destructive. And I find myself just constantly dealing with all this controversy, and there's no winner in those cases. And because I was, in that environment all the time, I'm always looking for things that are constructive. And so in my other part of my life and in kind of investing in real estate and fixing these homes up, that is constructive. There's a legacy there. There's like taking these homes and seeing that what it could be, and then making it beautiful and then providing housing. This has been something that's been very fulfilling to me that kind of seems like offsets the very negative and destructive part of the other stuff that I do.
Well, the thing that I found most interesting is that with this property that you have, you come into the space and you see this spectacular view of the valley and the San Susana mountain range, I guess is what it is. But the fact that they had the fireplace looking the opposite direction, and the fact that you said, wait a minute, this isn't necessary. When you've got the spectacular view, what are you going to be looking at the fireplace for? And the way you changed that and you made it a positive was very intuitive. Now it makes me want to see what other properties you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just looking at these properties and kind of just allowing them to kind of be more livable. And like you say, like, why would you have a fireplace? It's opposite of the view, but
right.
It's very odd. But I think, that's been positive in my life to be able to do things like that and meet people like yourself. Because like I say, doing the divorce work is it's
tiring.
It's very negative.
Right. Well, I think your cappuccino is coming around the corner. That's why I love being here. But thank you, Martha. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
That's why we love being here at the Calabasas Country Club, is the support that we get. And if I could put my 2 cents in, I'm eager to share our assisted living, independent living with you, because this might be an investment down the road, what you could bring to the party. And we've found it just so interesting. And it's like belonging to a really special club. They take very good care of us.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to find that.
Yeah.
And so I'm 56, so I'll get there eventually.
You're a baby.
Yeah, I might qualify.
Right,
but,
exactly. Well, some guy was coming to I guess it's a gathering to sell the space. And he said, I'm 59, can I join? I said, sure, anytime. So it was kind of funny to find someone in your age bracket wanted to come into independent living. But what other advice would you have? Because I know what's been successful for me. Marry your best friend, hopefully have the same religion, hopefully believe in the same politics. Any inside advice in terms of what to be on the lookout?
So what I'm seeing is kind of the pattern that exists in a lot of these breakups is really the failure to maintain the relationship. Because obviously these folks found themselves, they started a relationship, there was some initial courtship there where they were romantic with each other or shown appreciation, but then they stopped. And that's something that I've seen over and over again. And I think it's natural that there'll be a lot of attention placed initially on the relationship and on each other to kind of win the other over. And then once they're in that relationship, they figure, well, okay, I already have this. So now they start looking for something else in their life that they're going to focus on. Maybe it's a kid or their career or whatever. And they take the relationship for granted. Mm-hmm. And so they stop investing in it because they figure, well, hey, I've already got this. Let me work on something else. And as a result, the relationship then starts to fail. And so one party might feel resentful, like, hey, you're not paying attention to me like you did before. Maybe you don't like me anymore. Maybe that person starts withholding sex. Mm-hmm. And then the other one doesn't understand all that. And they're saying, wow, this person won't even sleep with me anymore. And they go out and have an affair, and then the whole thing's over. Mm-hmm. So to me, in seeing the relationships that have succeeded is that they have maintained romance. Mm-hmm. And in my view, it's expressing to each other like the gratitude that we have to be in the relationship, like what you bring to me, and then doing things that makes that person feel loved, and doing it on an unexpected way. So not waiting for Valentine's Day, doing it every day. Right. And once that's in there, then that relationship grows rather than fails. So I think that to me is what the takeaway that I have. That's my kind of vision for what a successful relationship would be. Because you could be the greatest match in the world when you meet each other, but if you don't maintain it, you're going to lose it.
Why are we not having many marriages now? Why are we having kids before marriage?
Well, I am seeing that as a trend, and I think statistically that's borne out, that some people are just saying we're not going to get married. Sure, we'll live together. Sure, we'll have kids. But marriage is buying into a lot of rights and responsibilities. And, like in California, we have community property law. So all property acquired during that marriage is going to be 50-50. And then that's going to have to be split in a divorce. And then there's going to be spousal support on top of that, potentially for life in a long marriage where there's money. So this is scary to some people, and they don't want to commit to that. And they want to have the relationship, though. And really, it's harmful to women. In a more traditional relationship, if we have a man-woman traditional relationship where the woman's going to expect to have kids and take care of the family, and the guy's going to go out there and work. So if we have that type of relationship, the woman gets hurt by not being married because they have no protections other than child support. So they could be together for 10 years, have a child. There could be a lot of success that the guy has at work, but then without a marriage and there's a breakup, she's going to get child support, and that's it. There's no property. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's not a partnership. And I think that again, and if everyone's going into this eyes open and that's what they want, great. Mm-hmm. But I think that my advice, if it was my sister or a friend, that I would be suggesting that she think differently about that. And it could be any relationship, same sex, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if one is expected to support the other emotionally or support the other with their career and allowing them to go out and work and all that, and there's no marriage, then there's no shared property. And so there's a partnership that's one-sided the one that's making the money gets 100% of the financial benefits or rewards. The other one that's put in that effort that really helped that person gets nothing. And so I would just suggest to think those things through on either side of that relationship. And to me, I think there should be a true partnership. And if we want somebody to be with us by our side, supporting us through thick and thin, and particularly on the bad days, what does she or that other person get out of it? And if there's nothing, then I think that could lead to resentfulness maybe later on in the relationship and hurt it. So I just think that all this has to be kind of thought through. It's easy for me as a lawyer because I see these things, but for folks that haven't gone through a divorce, haven't had these bad breakups before, and they're getting into a relationship, they just don't even know that they're at risk until it's too late.
Well, in France, you have to have your legal with the mayor. And then if you're going to have a church wedding, then you have it after. So it's legally binding, but then if you care to have the blessings of the church, then you have that after. And I think that's a pretty interesting stance. But now let me ask you another question. Many of the commentators today have legal, either they're a lawyer or whatever. Would you want to have a half-hour program?
Yeah, that's always been a goal of mine, because I'm doing as a freelance legal commentator following these stories for news outlets.
Right.
And the one of the ideas is to talk about the things we're talking about now on the relational aspects here, and what can be done to kind of help these relationships, and that's always an interest of mine. My other interest is really just, if you remember, Huell Hauser had a show,
right?
And so it's just going around locally or throughout California, and that's been a high interest of mine, because growing up in this area, I see all these sites, and even when I'm traveling around, there are so many beautiful things to do for free, just pulling off the road and seeing the sights, but also the people in these towns. And so visiting with them and making a show around that is also something in my second life, is something I'd like to do.
Well, I think you can do it. You have it, if I can be the first to say. But I think that what it does is it gives you gravitas in terms of, I know what's legal and I know what is not. And will you be able to have full disclosure on the celebrities that you have, I don't know, exposed or talked about? Will this, as a commentator, continue?
Yeah, so I mean, I've represented a lot of celebs, and all their stuff is confidential. So some of that's out there that I've represented these folks. And what I found is that everyone has the same feelings, that money doesn't change the fact that it hurts to get cheated on, or it hurts to get broken up with. And one of the differences for celebrities is that this is now on the front page, their breakup, all of these details, highly embarrassing to them, particularly to their children, to have to see not only their parents go through a breakup, but to see it all in the press is absolutely horrible for them. Now, of course, they have money and they have support systems that a lot of us don't have, so that might offset that. But, we talk about celebrity divorce because it's interesting, but it's really a reflection of a lot of what all of us go through.
Right. Sort of the magazines that expose before it's ready to expose. But, celebs like Elizabeth Taylor, she got married 8 times or something. Lana Turner got married, I don't know, multiple times. And I guess in their heart of hearts, they didn't want to have a relationship unless they had a wedding ring. And is that a mistake or a positive thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird when you see these frequent flyers. There's so many marriages over and over again. And, I'm sure that's a dream for a lot of divorce lawyers. But it is a little weird in terms of the judgment there. These serial relationships over and over again.
Yeah.
And are they really serious? And that's a question that I have. How serious were they getting into marriage number 5 or 6? I really don't think so. And we'll see some people who do this that are just impulsive, and they'll get married very quickly in the relationship, and it's meeting some kind of need that they have, but it's very dangerous for them to keep doing this. So to me, it's a big deal to be married, and if you're doing it 6 or 7 times,
and remarriage,
yeah. So that to me is their definition of it is a little bit different, but oftentimes we're not seeing that. Certainly there's a lot of premarital agreements involved. So even in these marriages, you would think like there's going to be some big payout, but a lot of times there's not if there's a prenup.
Uh-huh. Would you be in favor of prenups?
Yeah, so I built my career on doing premarital agreements. It's a specialty of mine. And so I've been involved in all these gigantic prenups, and I've stopped doing them. I really dislike them because I understand there is a need for them if there's children of the prior relationship. Right. Certainly those kids need to be protected. New spouse needs to be protected. So there should be some agreement here as to what the kids are going to get from the prior relationship versus the new spouse if there's a breakup or a death. But absent that, it just seems like going into a marriage with one hand, behind your back with your fingers crossed, and you're really not fully into this. And again, to have a marriage on paper or displayed to the public, hey, we're partners, we love each other, we're in for life, we've taken a vow for life, but secretly we have an agreement that if we break up, everything is mine and you get nothing. That's not a partnership. And when I was doing these agreements, I would always have a trick question for the client. I would say, well, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish here? And they would say, well, I want a prenup in the event of a divorce. And I would say, well, I thought you wanted to have a lifelong successful marriage.
Right.
Thought that was your number one goal. Oh, of course it is. Okay, well, how is this agreement that you want me to draft where your prospective spouse gets nothing as a result of this marriage? Like, how does that fulfill or meet your goal of having a lifelong happy marriage?
Right.
Well, it probably doesn't. Okay, well, let's talk about what we can give to your prospective spouse that would make her actually a partner with you, while also protecting you from some insane, divorce judgment. And so these are the conversations that I was having. And honestly, it's probably not my place, as a lawyer. I'm just, okay, you want me to draft this? I'll draft it for you. But where I'm at in my career, I don't need the money. I don't need the work. So that's where I found myself saying like, well, hey, this is how I see this playing out, and I don't think that you're being fair here, and I don't want to help you.
Right. Well, I think, too, most associations, like a marriage, sometimes work better with splitting the task. Even though they're not married anymore, they have to think about the children. And I think for an individual that's a father, he didn't realize what joy the kid brought. Or a single mom who's better to share the time because she loves her children. And those are successes, I think.
Yeah.
And are there many that end that way?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult. Where I think with the, some people are kind of stuck in these relationships for various reasons, whether it's abuse or they just don't have the money to split, or their immigration issues. So some people are stuck in these relationships. Other people who have a lot of free money, can split pretty easily, and I think probably leave the marriage without much thought because they can. And then you have these children, and now it's a child of divorce. And some parents are really good at shielding their kids and being excellent co-partners. I often wonder, and I've asked, like, why are you guys getting divorced? You get along so well.
Right.
Like, you can act in a dignified way, and you trust each other, and you can make a deal, and you keep your kids out of it. Like, why can't you be married?
Right.
And but others, there's no way they can do that, and they weaponize the kids, and then now they're just creating a really terrible legacy for themselves. And now, like, how is that child going to have a good relationship going forward when they saw their parents as their role models were unable to do that? Yeah. So it's there's so much like outfall here from this that can happen, particularly the kids.
Well, I think the thing that impressed us most coming out here are the number of couples that we've met that had abusive childhoods or, didn't have happy childhoods. Now, my wife and I have come from families of 5, and we have found that happy childhood breeds happy marriages. And I feel sorry for the number of people that have not had happy childhoods. And I find that difficult, but...
Yeah, and I think that it would help to have some counseling around some of these issues. Right. They're very difficult, and even in a happy childhood, there's always going to be problems and attitudes towards sex and intimacy that a lot of people just block out. They've never thought about, and there's shame around there. There's fear around intimacy that some people have, and if that's unresolved and then going into a marriage, that's going to be very confusing to the other partner.
Right.
And they're going to feel unloved or rejected, and then leading to all these problems when it was not the other partner. It was the first person who had the problem that never recognized it or dealt with it. So I think it really should be, some counseling, some assistance and introspection, before going
Do you
into this.
do counseling?
I do not. I'm not qualified for it, but because
you advise it.
Yeah, I think that's somebody who's qualified to go in and kind of talk through these issues, because, like I say, a lot of people don't even recognize that they have these struggles around intimacy, and until it comes up into the marriage. Right.
Well, I really enjoy talking to you, Chris Melcher, and I respect what you do, because I think in a lot of ways you're right. More marriages could be saved than are, and I think possibly misunderstanding or not comfortable in a relationship might be one of the stumbling blocks. But I really, as far as I'm concerned, you've really given some good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.